Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. After this week, we're finishing up Chapter 4, of course, and then it's less than a month, actually about a month, until spring break. So things are moving quickly. We do Chapter 5, and then after Chapter 5 is the midterm. And then for spring break, you get like 11 days. So well-deserved, first of all. I mean, after the first two quizzes and the first two chapters, again, I'm delighted with the results of the quizzes as a group and the engagement of the class. So please keep that up. I'll do my best to keep the lectures upbeat and interesting. Although in this chapter, it's actually a tale of two cities, okay? We as Charles Dickens would say, this deals with some of the best of the business world, and then, as I said in D2L, the seamy underbelly of the business world. So we deal with some scoundrels, okay? So, and they're out there. Pre-COVID, I got together with some friends of mine, some people I lived with in college, and talk about dealing with scoundrels. One of them is one of the chief enforcement attorneys for the Securities and Exchange Commission. So he gets to deal with like the greediest of the greedy, okay? So he's got that crowd to handle. And then another one is one of the chief enforcement attorneys for the Department of Justice. And I talked to his wife. His wife is like, yeah, you can't find anything on him in the internet because, yeah, we fly as far under the radar as we can because some of these people do bad things and they get sent away to very bad prisons for long periods of time. And when they get out, if they get out, they might have a grudge to carry. So, which makes I got nothing. I'm like, yeah, my job's pretty boring by comparison. It's extremely boring by comparison. But, so I'm talking today about ethical behavior in business, which really doesn't go to the extremes that these people see. I mean, my friend at the SEC, he sees greed to the extreme. And the Department of Justice friend, I don't even want to know what those people did, but needless to say, they did things that were not highly socially acceptable. By the way, what am I going to do with my 11 days? I'm glad you asked. We're going to upgrade the vibe here at Casa del Gallagher. Maybe put some artwork up on the walls, Dogs Playing Poker, unfortunately, is out on traveling, exhibit, so that's not going to be available. Sorry about that. But I'll, ficus tree, artwork, things like that. So maybe a more pleasing background to look at when you get tired of looking at me. Improve the vibe. So we're going to go into, really the book talks about this, the opening poster child is Meathead Movers, and these are people who do really good things for society, okay? I mean, this is an entity that they deal with domestic violence victims, okay? So if somebody's involved in a situation where they're involved with domestic violence, Meathead Movers will come in and they will just simply get them out of there as quickly as possible at no cost. So if someone's, again, a victim of it, they call, the movers come, get them out, no charge, which is great. And the reputation is impeccable. And they're still in business. The things that comments people have about them on social media are terrific. And justifiably so. I mean, it's a great service. My brother works as a therapist, and he deals with some people that have been involved in circumstances like that. And emotionally, they're at their all-time low. I mean, so it's a tough time, and that's the thing. They're helping to uplift people or at least do something kind for somebody who's really dealing with a difficult situation. So a very well-deserved poster child, Meathead Movers. So if if you have a chance, I mean, there won't be any direct quiz questions on them, but they're the first page of the chapter that I keep calling them, referring to them as the poster children because they set the theme for the rest of the chapter. Okay. And another example of good business people. Later in the chapter, we're going to get back into, like I say, we're getting into the sleazy underbelly of corporations, and I'll update it with some real world examples. Talk a little bit about a fellow by the name of Bernie Madoff, who basically stole, depending on who you ask, about $65 billion in a Ponzi scheme from investors, and I think he's scheduled for release out of prison, I think when he's 201 years old or something. Good luck with that. And then there's a company called Thanos that was run by Elizabeth Holmes. And when they finally got her on television and they televised her deposition, which was under oath, and basically asked her, hey, you said all these things at conferences and on previous interviews, and all her responses were either, I don't know, I don't remember, or no, that's not true. So she basically falsified everything about the company and its product and its capabilities, and her trial is coming, but of course with COVID-19, her defense team has bought themselves some more time, but of course so's the prosecution is licking their chops on this one too, because clearly it brought in a lot of investors or interest, and there was nothing behind it. It was a product that simply, didn't do anything like they promoted it to. So, a scam in a nutshell. On the plus side, of course, Meathead Movers. Another one. When I first graduated, I had to move to Cleveland, Ohio, briefly because my first job was headquartered in Cleveland. My car broke down. Of course, college senior, just out of school. So I'm looking for an inexpensive place to get it fixed. I really didn't want to take it to a dealer. Didn't really have the funds to pay dealer prices to get a repair. And so I went to the administrative assistant of our CEO, and I said, hey, I hate to impose, but my car's broken down, and would you happen to know of any good repair shops? Because she was a Cleveland native. And she says, well, I do, but it's really not for publication, but let me check with the boss and see if the boss might be able to get you in there. And she called me back the next day and said, hey, I got you an appointment with them. We'll call them Stevens Motors for lack of not having a better name. This was many years ago. But this car repair place had an unlisted phone number. They had no address listed. They had no signage. They had no number on the building. I mean, the admin gave me a map showing me how to get there and what to look for as far as distinguishing features of the building. And I'm thinking, well, it's like they're not like building top secret military stuff here. Why is this such a secret place to find? Well, I learned that the reason is that they do such good, high quality work at such a fair and low price that they were literally, people were just lined up to get in to see them, and they simply ran out of patience with having to turn people away because all the other repair shops were just either marginal from a quality of work standpoint or marginal from an ethics standpoint. And these people did very high quality work, very fair prices, and they had more business than they could possibly do. And so it got to a point, a family run, multiple generations, mom, dad, kids, uncles and cousins, and so on and so forth. Really a business truly in the family. And it got to a point, like I said, that they just, they had to say, okay, if you're on the list of clients, then we'll work on your car. But if not, we can't, we can't keep adding more customers. But what a happy situation to be in. I mean, even during a recession, your bills are going to get paid, you know. And the thing that differentiates them is that they do the right thing. Whereas, aside from this video, you're going to watch the Jiffy Lube video, which also is the basis of case study number 2, franchise player. Okay. Now, Jiffy Lube has over 2,000 franchises, and clearly, you know, for example, Jiffy Lube in a small town, typically they tend to be good because small towns' reputations spread very quickly. If you don't do the right thing, it's very problematic, and your longevity is going to be in question, certainly. I think many of them are good in those smaller towns. I haven't been to all 2,000, of course. But, yeah, in Los Angeles, on the other hand, you're dealing with a situation where there's hundreds of oil change places. Those oil change places, the rents are expensive, the utilities are expensive, lots of cars, that's a good thing. So, you know, there's lots of potential business out there. And a lot of people spontaneously drive by and they look at the odometer and say, yeah, I got a half an hour to kill, let me get my oil changed. But clearly, this, and I know exactly where it is. I've driven past that Jiffy Lube, you know, dozens and dozens of times, probably a few times a week, really. And but they're featured because they're repeat offenders. Okay, they got caught. They said, "We're sorry. We'll clean up our act," and they didn't. In some ways, it was worse, and so that's why it's featured. Okay, so and the other one's also pretty self-explanatory. We'll talk about that on Zoom, and then so you've got that repair shop in Cleveland, ethical, more business than they can handle because of it. You got meathead movers who just really do, like I say, it's people who are at their lowest point. They step in to help, and God bless them. They're, you know, they're really people who, you know, are serving society in a good way. So that's great. And I mean, you're going to be entering the workforce, so these case studies and this chapter and other things we're going to talk about along the way hopefully sort of help you get a feel for dealing with circumstances in the business world, because you will be challenged. Your values will be challenged. I guarantee you there's going to come times, I mean, you're going to deal with gut-churning, soul-destroying bosses who ask things that are marginally ethical, and it's going to put you on the spot. So there's that. I mean, it's we could talk about that on Zoom too. I mean, situations like that. And like I mentioned, you know, the first week, things I can't teach you. I can't teach you attitude. I can't teach you work ethic. And I can't teach integrity. These are things you need to develop, but they will define you more than anything else as your career goes on. And reputations work for and against people, but if you have a good one, I mean, you want to hire people you know and you trust, right? And same thing in the business world. As your network expands and you get to know more people and they know you as a good, hardworking, ethical person, you're going to be high on the list of people that if they leave to take a better job, they'll want to bring you with them, right? So there's some real benefits to be paid to doing things the right way. So so enough about the like I say, the gut-churning, soul-destroying managers. They're out there, you know. And in the business world, you know, there's like that cliche that's been around forever: nice guys finish last. I don't think that's true. I think gutless worms finish last. Okay, but if you're doing the right thing and you're working hard and you have your argument thought through, it's fine to go to the boss and say, look, this isn't fair. I'm doing all of these things. I'm doing all the right things. and yet other people are getting away with things, and I'm getting bypassed for promotions, or they're getting plum accounts because they're not, quite frankly, sticking to the rule book, and I think that's going to come back to bite us in the ass down the road. So hopefully you don't have too many of those discussions, but you just may. So the book itself, the chapter starts off defining ethical behavior versus legal behavior. Okay, now ethical behavior is what your internal compass tells you is the right thing to do. Is the action legal? Is it balanced? Am I being fair to people? And part 3 of that is, how do you feel about yourself? Can you look in the mirror and say, yeah, that was the right decision that I made? Legal behavior is what keeps you from being frog walked out the front door of your business in handcuffs by the local law enforcement officials. So you want to certainly pay attention to that. And then the last bit is something called corporate social responsibility. If you work for a corporation, the chapter breaks out into 5 subsections. Okay, corporate social responsibility, corporate philanthropy. I mean, clearly, if your company's turning a profit and you're in an area that your customers are in, or even if they're not, you need to do something to pay it back or pay it forward to society. It's important, and some companies are more aggressive than others in that regard. But you can always, build a good reputation for yourself by leading on some of those initiatives. Our company sponsored a Habitat for Humanity day with our customers, and they, which is where you help build a home for an underprivileged family, and it was embarrassing in that I was the only person from the company to show up to do it. The customers came, and the customers kept asking me, "Where are your coworkers? Where's your company?" And I'm like, I believe in doing this. I think it's really important, but can't speak to where the other people went. And so that was, A, it was embarrassing personally for me. B, it was embarrassing for the company. So that's good intentions gone bad, okay? The other part of corporate social responsibility is corporate responsibility to the employees. You need to treat your employees fairly, okay? If not, things are going to pick up. I mean, in the short term, once we hit this combination of the stimulus package passing and vaccinations increasing, which they just said going into the weekend that there was an extra 100 million doses coming online. So, combination of those two things, I think hiring's going to start picking up again. Things are going to get better, at least in the next 6 to 18 months. I think we'll have a better economy, and so you need to hire and treat those employees better, okay? And define policies that again establish you as an ethical company to do business with. It's important. That's it. I intentionally wanted to keep this lecture short because those other 2 videos I want you to watch before you gather on Zoom. And then we'll talk about those next on Wednesday, the last day of the class. Logistics, of course, on Wednesday. Chapter 3 quiz locks and Chapter 4 quiz unlocks. And we go through Chapter 5 before the midterm. So again, things are going to come fast, but the good news is a month from now, spring break. And that's a nice long one. So, which I hope you enjoy. Again, I'm really delighted as a group with how the group's doing right now. I tip my hat to all of you. So see you on Zoom. Thanks.